Okay, so what you're looking at here is the Narmer Palette. For about 5,000 years, this slab of stone has been seen as pretty much the founding document of the Egyptian state. You could call it its official birth certificate. But what if the story it tells isn't what we've always thought? For more than 100 years, we thought we had this thing figured out. The story seems simple. It shows King Narmer, the very first pharaoh, violently conquering his enemies to unite Upper and Lower Egypt. It's this epic, action-packed founding story. But what if that's not the whole story? All right, let's really dive into this, shall we? We're going to start peeling back the layers of that popular myth. Because the clues hidden in these carvings, well, they don't seem to tell a story of a single historical battle, but something way deeper, something much more profound about what it even meant to be a king in Egypt. And this is the question that changes everything. Have we been reading this all wrong? What if we're not looking at a history book, but more like a ceremonial blueprint? An ideological statement that literally defined the job of the pharaoh for the next 3,000 years. The first clues are actually hiding in plain sight, right there at the very top of the palette. The king's name itself is the key. It's what starts to unlock the deeper meaning of this entire object. So, you see this symbol here on both sides? The one that looks kind of like a building? That's called a Srek. It represents the royal palace, which was the seat of power on Earth. So whatever name is written inside is literally in the house of the king. And the name inside? Narmer. It's written with just two signs, a catfish, which is Nar, and a chisel, which is Mer. Now, for a long time, people thought it meant something like beloved of Nar, but a better translation is more like the chisel of the goddess Nar. See? It's an active, forceful name. It's a doing name. And we see this backed up on other artifacts, like this ancient seal, where the catfish symbol itself is smiting enemies. Right from the get-go, this king's identity is tied up with aggression and control. So what does that all mean? Well, basically, his very name establishes his role in the world. He is the instrument of divine order, the one who carves out justice and punishes chaos. It isn't just a label, it's his job description. And get this, watching over this whole scene are these four cow-headed figures. This is the ancient sky goddess Bot, and notice she has two faces. They're meant to represent cosmic duality. Think sun and moon, day and night. Her presence immediately elevates everything happening below. It's a signal to us that this isn't just some one-off historical event, but part of an eternal, cosmic drama that plays out over and over again. All right, now for the main event, let's look at that famous central scene, that iconic image of conquest you've probably seen 100 times. But when you really look closely, the details don't add up to a battlefield report. No, they point to a very carefully staged ceremony. So we're at a crossroads here. We've got two ways of looking at this. Is it a historical record, a snapshot of a real war? Or is it a ritual statement, a symbolic performance of the king's never-ending duty to defeat chaos? Well, the evidence points pretty strongly to that second one. This pose, right here, this became the image of royal power for 3,000 years. The king, larger than life, raising his mace to crush a helpless enemy. It seems so simple, right? But every single thing you see here is packed with ritual symbolism. This is no soldier in the heat of battle. Okay, let's break down the evidence, because it's all right there. First, Narmer is wearing the huge white crown of Upper Egypt and a ceremonial fake beard. Not exactly practical battle gear, is it? And behind him, this little guy is holding his sandals. Why? Because the king is barefoot on sacred ground. Then there's the bull's tail hanging from his belt, a symbol of divine power. And look at the falcon god Horus. He isn't conquering the land for the king. He's presenting the conquered people to the king as a ritual offering. And all of this, every single bit of it, serves one ultimate purpose, upholding Ma'at. Now, Ma'at is this huge, fundamental concept of cosmic order, truth, and balance. Think of it like this. The universe was built on this perfect balance, and chaos is always trying to knock it over. The king's number one job, the whole reason he exists, is to be the champion of Ma'at. And the smiting scene, it's the ultimate visual for that job. Okay, but the story isn't over. Let's flip this thing over and see what's on the other side. The story continues, and it expands the king's role, showing us the next act in this sacred play. So here's Narmer again, same big important guy, but wait a second, he's wearing a totally different crown.
That's the red crown, the one associated with Lower Egypt. He's not fighting anymore. Now he's leading this solemn procession, showing that he has mastery over the entire land.
And again, it's all in the details. The symbol above his attendant suggests Narmer has just come from a house of purification. He's ritually clean. He's led by a priest in a leopard skin and followed by these 4 guys carrying standards. They represent the allied chiefs or gods who make up his kingdom, the followers of Horus. This is a state ceremony, plain and simple, not a victory parade after a bloody battle.
So where is this whole parade headed? Well, the scene points us to the right, towards the final act. They're all walking toward a sacred space, probably a temple, to witness the final outcome of the king's duty to destroy disorder.
And wow, here's what they're going to see. 10 bodies, all decapitated, with their heads neatly tucked between their legs. Now this looks brutal, I know, but this isn't a war report card. It's not a body count. It's a powerful symbol. It's chaos being totally and completely neutralized. Its power broken, all laid out for inspection as part of a sacred temple ritual.
So let's put it all together. If this isn't a history of one single event, then what on earth is it? Well, when you pull all these threads together, you see the palette's true monumental significance. It's the mission statement for every single pharaoh who would ever rule Egypt. Here's the bottom line. The Narmer Palette isn't a history book. It's an ideological manifesto. It's a visual contract that defines the power and the divine duty of the king. You could even say it's the blueprint for an entire civilization.
It lays down 3 pillars of kingship that would last for millennia. First up, the king is the divine enforcer, the champion who defends Ma'at. Second, he is the unifier, the master of the 2 lands, shown by him wearing both the white and red crowns. And third, this smiting pose becomes the single most iconic and enduring image of royal power in all of Egyptian art.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. More than 5,000 years ago, this one object, carved out of stone, laid out the foundational rules for a civilization that would last for 3,000 years. It's not just art, it's the very definition of power, divinity, and order for an entire culture.
And that really leaves us with one big question. The story of a great battle was simple, it was compelling, and it was easy to get. But the truer, deeper story, the one about ritual and ideology, was there the whole time, just waiting to be decoded. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other stories from the ancient world are we still just reading on the surface?